It still feels a bit like a dream even now, standing here with the keys in my hand. It's a little silver key for the front door, the chunky brass one for the safe. It's the tiny one for the special display case in the window. My keys. My store. It all started on a Tuesday, I think. One of those gray, drizzly days that make you want to curl up with a book. But I'd promised myself I'd just sold my little online bakery business, the one I'd poured my heart and soul into for 6 long years, baking before dawn, packing orders late into the night. It had done well, better than I'd ever dared to hope. And with the money, the first real, substantial sum I'd ever had, I wanted to buy myself something beautiful, something that sparkled, something to mark the end of one chapter and the bright, shiny beginning of another. So I'd walked into Glimmer and Glow, the fanciest jewelry store in our town. It wasn't one of those big chain places. It was an old-fashioned, family-owned store that had been there for generations. It always looked so inviting from the outside, like a treasure chest spilled open. I wasn't dressed up. I had on my comfy jeans, a faded sweatshirt from a charity run, and my old sneakers. My hair was probably a bit wild. I'd been out walking the dog earlier. I wasn't thinking about my appearance. I was thinking about necklaces. Maybe a delicate gold chain with a single. Perfect pearl. The bell above the door tinkled as I stepped inside. 2 women were behind the counter. One was older, with perfectly styled silver hair and a string of pearls that probably cost more than my first car. The other was younger, maybe in her late 20s, with sharp eyes and a way of looking down her nose, even though she was shorter than me. Let's call them Agnes and Brenda. Agnes, the older one, gave me a quick, dismissive glance and went back to polishing a ring. Brenda looked me up and down, a tiny, almost invisible sneer playing on her lips. "Can I help you?" she asked, and her voice was like ice chips. Not rude, exactly, but not welcoming either. It's a kind of voice that says, "You clearly don't belong." "Here, yes, please," I said, trying to keep my voice warm and friendly. "I'm looking for a necklace, something special." Brenda's eyes flickered over my sweatshirt again. "We have some lovely costume pieces over here," she said, gesturing vaguely towards a corner display with bright, chunky plastic things. Very affordable. A little knot tightened in my stomach. "Actually," I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice, "I was thinking of something in gold, perhaps with a pearl." Agnes finally looked up, her expression unreadable but definitely not friendly. "The gold items are in these cases," she said, her voice flat. She didn't move. Neither of them made any effort to show me anything. I walked over to the main glass counters, my heart sinking a little. The beautiful pieces shimmered under the lights. I pointed to a delicate necklace, a tiny diamond chip winking on a fine gold chain. "Could I see that one, please?" Brenda sighed, a tiny put-upon sound, and slowly came around the counter. She unlocked the case with a flourish, picked up the necklace as if it might contaminate her, and laid it on a velvet pad. She didn't offer me a mirror, didn't suggest I try it on. "That one is quite pricey," she said, her tone implying I wouldn't understand the numbers on the tag. I felt a flush creep up my neck. It wasn't just about the necklace anymore. It was about how small they made me feel. Invisible. Like I wasn't worth their time. Or their courtesy. All those years of hard work, of proving myself. And here I was, being judged by a faded sweatshirt. I looked at the price tag. It was expensive, yes, but well within what I had planned to spend. I could have bought it. I could have pulled out my debit card and slapped it on the counter. But the joy was gone. Sparkle I'd come in for had been dulled by their attitude. "Thank you," I said quietly, my voice sounding thinner than I wanted. I'll think about it." They both just nodded, already turning away, dismissing. Me again! I walked out of Glimmer and Glow feeling a mix of things, hurt, anger, and a strange sort of determination. The rain had stopped, and a watery sun was trying to break through the clouds. I sat on a bench in the little park across the street, just looking at the store. It was a beautiful building, a prime spot on Main Street, and it hit me. It wasn't a lightning bolt, more like a slow, dawning realization. Mr. Henderson, the owner, was getting on in years. I'd heard whispers he was looking to retire to sell the business. My bakery sale had left me with more than just enough for a necklace. It had left me with capital. The idea was crazy. I knew nothing about jewelry, really, but I knew about customer service. I knew how it felt to be treated well, and I definitely knew how it felt to be treated poorly. I knew what it took to build a business from the ground up, to make people feel valued. That evening, I didn't look at necklaces online. I researched Glimmer and Glow. I found out Mr. Henderson was indeed actively looking for a buyer. I called my lawyer the next morning, then my accountant. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, paperwork, and quiet excitement mixed with a healthy dose of terror. Mr. Henderson was a kind, elderly gentleman. He was sad to let his family's legacy go, but pleased it would go to someone local who seemed to care about the town. He never asked me why I wanted it, just seemed glad someone did. He didn't know about my little visit. The day the sale was finalized, I walked back into Glimmer and Glow. It was another Tuesday. Agnes and Brenda were there, just like before. I was wearing a simple dress this time, nothing fancy but neat. They both looked up. Brenda's eyes did that familiar up and down scan. Yes, she asked, that same chilly tone. Good morning, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Mr. Henderson asked me to come by. He said you'd be expecting me. Agnes looked puzzled. Expecting you for what? Just then, Mr. Henderson came out from the back office, beaming. Ah, Eleanor, there you are. Ladies, I'd like you to meet Ms. Eleanor Vance. She's the new owner of Glimmer and Glow. I wish I had a camera for the looks on their faces. Agnes's perfectly styled hair seemed to wilt a little. Brenda's jaw literally dropped. Her face went from pale to a sort of mottled red. For a moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the quiet ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. I didn't gloat. I didn't say I told you so or anything like that. There was a part of me that wanted to, a small, petty part. But the bigger part of me, the part that had baked cakes at 3 a.m. and knew the value of hard work and dignity, just felt a quiet sense of things coming full circle. It's a pleasure to officially meet you both, I said, holding out my hand. I'm looking forward to working together to make Glimmer and Glow a place where everyone feels welcome. Agnes, to her credit, recovered first. She shook my hand, her grip surprisingly firm. Welcome, Ms. Vance, she said, her voice a little strained. Brenda just stared. I think she was still processing. It hasn't been easy. Brenda quit a week later, muttering something about standards. Agnes stayed. She's old school, but she's learning. She sees the way I greet every single person who walks through that door, whether they're in a business suit or muddy gardening clothes. She sees me offer them a coffee, ask about their day, treat them like they matter, because they do, and me. I finally bought myself that necklace, the one with the tiny diamond chip. I wear it every day. It's not just a piece of jewelry. It's a reminder. A reminder that looks can be deceiving, that kindness costs nothing, and that sometimes the best way to prove someone wrong is to quietly, determinedly build something better. And every time the bell over the door tinkles, I smile, ready to make someone feel the sparkle inside and out.